Yet, is this what was offered you? There are three powers, only three powers on earth, capable of conquering and holding captive forever the conscience of these feeble rebels, for their own happiness. These powers are miracle, mystery, and authority. You rejected the first, the second, and the third, and gave yourself as an example of that. When the dread and wise spirit set you on a pinnacle of the temple and said to you, if you would know whether or not you are the Son of God, cast yourself down, for it is written of him that the angels will bear him up, and he will not fall or be hurt. And then you will know whether you are the Son of God, and will prove what faith you have in your Father. But you heard and rejected the offer, and did not yield, and did not throw yourself down. Oh, of course, in this you acted proudly and magnificently, like God. But mankind, that weak, rebellious tribe, are they gods? Oh, you knew then that if you made just one step, just one movement towards throwing yourself down, you would immediately have tempted the Lord and would have lost all faith in him, and been dashed against the earth you came to save. And the intelligent spirit who was tempting you would rejoice. But, I repeat, are there many like you? And indeed, could you possibly have assumed, even for a moment, that mankind, too, would be strong enough for such a temptation? Is that how human nature was created? To reject the miracle, and in those terrible moments of life, the moments of the most terrible, essential, and tormenting questions of the soul, to remain only with the free decision of the heart? Oh, you knew that your deed would be preserved in books, would reach the depths of the ages and the utmost limit of earth. And you hoped that, following you, man too would remain with God, having no need of miracles. But you did not know that as soon as man rejects miracles, he will at once reject God as well. For man seeks not so much God as miracles, and since man cannot bear to be left without miracles, he will go and create new miracles for himself, his own miracles this time, and will bow down to the miracles of quacks or women's magic, though he be rebellious, heretical, and godless 100 times over. You did not come down from the cross when they shouted to you, mocking and reviling you, come down from the cross and we will believe that it is you. You did not come down because, again, you did not want to enslave man by a miracle and thirsted for faith that is free, not miraculous. You thirsted for love that is free, and not for the servile rapture of a slave or for a power that has left him permanently terrified. But here, you overestimated mankind, for, of course, they are slaves, though they were created rebels. Behold and judge, now that 15 centuries have passed, take a look at them. Whom have you raised up to yourself? I swear, man is created weaker and baser than you thought him. How? How can he ever accomplish the same things as you? Respecting him so much, you behaved as if you had ceased to be compassionate, because you demanded too much of him. And who did this? He who loved him more than himself. Respecting him less, you would have demanded less of him, and that would be closer to love, for his burden would be lighter. He is weak and mean. What matter that he now rebels everywhere against our power, and takes pride in this rebellion? The pride of a child and a schoolboy. They are little children, who rebel in class and drive out the teacher. But there will also come an end to the children's delight, and it will cost them dearly. They will tear down the temples and drench the earth with blood. But finally the foolish children will understand that although they are rebels, they are feeble rebels, who cannot endure their own rebellion. Pouring out their foolish tears, they will finally acknowledge that he who created them rebels no doubt intended to laugh at them. They will stay in despair, and what they say will be a blasphemy that will make them even more unhappy, for human nature cannot bear blasphemy and in the end always takes revenge for it. And so, turmoil, confusion, and unhappiness, these are the present lot of mankind, after you suffered so much for their freedom. Your great prophets tell in a vision and an allegory that he saw all those who took part in the first resurrection, and that they were 12,000 from each tribe. But even if there were so many, they too were not like men, as it were, but gods. They endured your cross. They endured scores of years of hungry and naked wilderness, eating locusts and roots, and of course you can point with pride to these children of freedom, of free love, of free and magnificent sacrifice in your name. But remember that there were only several thousand of them, and they were gods. What of the rest? Is it the fault of the rest of feeble mankind that they could not endure what the mighty endured? Is it the fault of the weak soul that it is unable to contain such terrible gifts? Can it be that you indeed came only to the chosen ones, and for the chosen ones? But if so, there is a mystery here, and we cannot understand it. And if it is a mystery, then we too had the right to preach mystery and to teach them that it is not the free choice of the heart that matters, and not love, but the mystery, which they must blindly obey, even setting aside their own conscience. And so we did. We corrected your deed and based it on a miracle, mystery, and authority. And mankind rejoiced that they were once more led like sheep, and that at last such a terrible gift, which had brought them so much suffering, had been taken from their hearts. Tell me, were we right in teaching and doing so? Have we not, indeed, loved mankind, in so humbly recognizing their impotence, in so lovingly alleviating their burden and allowing their free will nature even to sin? With our permission, why have you come to interfere with us now? And why are you looking at me so silently and understandingly with your meek eyes? Be angry. I do not want your love, for I do not love you. And what can I hide from you? Do I not know with whom I am speaking? What I have to tell you is all known to you already. I can read it in your eyes, and it is for me to hide our secrets from you. Perhaps you precisely want to hear it from my lips. Listen, then. We are not with you, but with him. That is our secret. For a long time now, 8 centuries already, we have not been with you, but with him. Exactly 8 centuries ago we took from him what you so indignantly rejected. That last gift he offered you when he showed you all the kingdoms of the earth. We took Rome and the sword of Caesar from him, and proclaimed ourselves sole rulers of the earth, the only rulers, though we have not yet succeeded in bringing our cause to its full conclusion. But whose fault is that? Oh, this work is still in its very beginnings, but it has begun. There is still long to wait before its completion, and the earth still has much to suffer. But we shall accomplish it, and we shall be Caesars. And then we shall think about the universal happiness of mankind. And yet you could have taken the sword of Caesar even then. Why did you reject that last gift? Had you accepted that third counsel of the mighty Spirit, you would have furnished all that man seeks on earth, that is, someone to bow down to, someone to take over his conscience, and a means for uniting everyone at last into a common, concordant, and incontestable ant-hill. For the need for universal union is the third and last torment of man. Mankind in its entirety has always yearned to arrange things so that they must be universal. There have been many great nations with great histories, but the higher these nations stood, the unhappier they were, for they were more strongly aware than others of the need for a universal union of mankind. Great conquerors Tamerlanes and Genghis Khans swept over the earth like a whirlwind, yearning to conquer the cosmos, but they, too, expressed, albeit unconsciously, the same great need of mankind for universal and general union. Had you accepted the world and Caesar's purple, you would have founded a universal kingdom and granted universal peace. For whom shall possess mankind, if not those who possess their conscience and give them their bread? And so we took Caesar's sword, and in taking it, of course, we rejected you and followed him. Oh, there will be centuries more of the lawlessness of free reason, of their science and anthropophagy, for having begun to build their Tower of Babel without us, they will end in anthropophagy. And it is then that the beast will come crawling to us and lick our feet and spatter them with tears of blood from its eyes. And we shall sit upon the beast and raise the cup, and on it will be written mystery. But then, and then only, will the kingdom of peace and happiness come from mankind. You are proud of your chosen ones, but you have only your chosen ones, while we will pacify all. And there is still more. How many among these chosen ones, the strong ones who might have become chosen ones, have finally grown tired of waiting for you, and have brought and will yet bring the powers of their spirit and the ardor of their hearts to another field, and will end in raising their free banner against you. But you raise the banner yourself. With us, everyone will be happy, and they will no longer rebel or destroy each other, as in your freedom, everywhere. Oh, we shall convince them that they will only become free when they resign their freedom to us and submit to us. We will be right, do you think? Or will we be lying? They themselves will be convinced that we are right, for they will remember to what horrors of slavery and confusion your freedom led them. Freedom, free reason, and science will lead them into such a maze and confront them with such miracles and insoluble mysteries that some of them, unruly and ferocious, will exterminate themselves. Others, unruly but feeble, will exterminate each other. And the remaining third, feeble and wretched, will crawl to our feet and cry out to us, "Yes, you are right. You alone possess his mystery, and we are coming back to you. Save us from ourselves." Receiving bread from us, they will see clearly, of course, that we take from them the bread they have procured with their own hands in order to distribute it among them. Without any miracle, they will see that we have not turned stones into bread, but indeed, more than over the bread itself, they will rejoice over taking it from our hands, for they will remember only too well that before, without us, the very bread they procured for themselves turned to stones in their hands, and when they came back to us, the very stones in their hands turned to bread. Too well, far too well, will they appreciate what it means to submit once and for all. And until men understand this, they will be unhappy. Who contributed most of all to this lack of understanding? Tell me, who broke up the flock and scattered it upon paths unknown? But the flock will gather again, and again submit, and this time once and for all. Then we shall give them quiet, humble happiness, the happiness of feeble creatures, such as they were created. Oh, we shall finally convince them not to be proud, for you raised them up, and thereby taught them pride. We shall prove to them that they are feeble, and that they are only pitiful children, but that a child's happiness is sweeter than any other. They will become timid and look to us and cling to us in fear, like chicks to a hen. They will marvel and stand in awe of us, and be proud that we are so powerful and so intelligent as to have been able to subdue such a tempestuous flock of thousands of millions. They will tremble limply before our wrath. Their minds will grow timid. Their eyes will become as tearful as children's or women's. But just as readily, but just as readily, at a gesture from us, they will pass over to gaiety and laughter, to bring joy and happy children's song. Yes, we will make them work, but in the hours free from labor, we will arrange their lives like a children's game, with children's songs, choruses, and innocent dancing. Oh, we will allow them to sin, too. They are weak and powerless. They will love us like children for allowing them to sin. We will tell them that every sin will be redeemed if it is committed with our permission, and that we allow them to sin because we love them. And as for the punishment for these sins, very well. We take it upon ourselves, and we will take it upon ourselves, and they will adore us as benefactors who have borne their sins before God, and they will have no secrets from us. We will allow or forbid them to live with their wives and mistresses, to have or not have children, all depending on their obedience, and they will submit to us gladly and joyfully. The most tormenting secrets of their conscience, all they will bring to us, and we will decide all things, and they will joyfully believe our decision, because it will deliver them from their great care and their present terrible torments of personal and free decision. And everyone will be happy, all the millions of creatures, except for the 100,000 of those who govern them. For only we who keep the mystery, only we shall be unhappy. There will be thousands of millions of happy babes, and 100,000 sufferers who have taken upon themselves the curse of the knowledge of good and evil. Peacefully they will die, peacefully they will expire in your name, and beyond the grave they will find only death. But we will keep the secret, and for their own happiness we will entice them with a heavenly and eternal reward. For even if there were anything in the next world, it would not, of course, be for such as they. It is said and prophesied that you will come and once more be victorious. You will come with your chosen ones, with your proud and mighty ones. But we will say that they saved only themselves, while we have saved everyone. It is said and prophesied that you will come and once more be victorious. You will come with your chosen ones, with your proud and mighty ones. But we will say that they saved only themselves, while we have saved everyone. It is said that the harlot who sits upon the beast and holds mystery in her hands will be disgraced, that the feeble will rebel again, that they will tear her purple and strip her loathsome body. But then I shall stand up and point out to you the tens of millions of happy babies who did not know sin, and we who took their sins upon ourselves for their happiness. We will stand before you and say, judge us if you can and dare. Know that I am not afraid of you. Know that I, too, was in the wilderness, and I, too, ate locusts and roots, that I, too, blessed freedom, with which you have blessed mankind, and I, too, was preparing to enter the number of your chosen ones, the number of the strong and mighty, with a thirst that the number be complete. But I woke, and did not want to serve badness. I returned and joined the host of those who have corrected your deed. I left the proud and returned to the humble, for the happiness of the humble. What I am telling you will come true, and our kingdom will be established. Tomorrow, I repeat, you will see this obedient flock, which at my first gesture will rush to heap hot coals around your stake, at which I shall burn you for having come to interfere with us. For if anyone has ever deserved our stake, it is you. Tomorrow I shall burn you. Dixie. Ivan stopped. He was flushed from speaking, and from speaking with such enthusiasm, but when he finished, he suddenly smiled. Alyosha, who all the while had listened to him silently, though towards the end in great agitation, he had started many times to interrupt his brother's speech, but obviously restrained himself, suddenly spoke as if tearing himself loose. "But that's absurd," he cried, blushing. "Your poem praises Jesus. It doesn't revile him, as you meant it to. And who will believe you about freedom? Is that any way to understand it? It's a far cry from the orthodox idea. It's Rome, and not even the whole of Rome." "That isn't true. They're the worst of Catholicism. The Inquisitors, the Jesuits. But there could not even possibly be such a fantastic person as your Inquisitor. What sins do they take on themselves? Who are these bearers of the mystery who took some sort of curse upon themselves for man's happiness? Has anyone ever seen them? We know the Jesuits. Bad things are said about them. But are they what you have here? They're not that. Not that at all. They're simply a Roman army for a future universal earthly kingdom, with the emperor, the pontiff of Rome, at their head. That's their ideal, but without any mystery or lofty sadness, simply the lust for power, for filthy earthly lucre and enslavement. A sort of future serfdom with them as the landowners. That's all they have. Maybe they won't even believe in God. Your suffering Inquisitor is only a fantasy." "But wait, wait," Ivan was laughing. "Don't get so excited. A fantasy, you say. Let it be. Of course it's a fantasy, but still, let me ask. Do you really think that this whole Catholic movement of the past few centuries is really nothing but the lust for power only for the sake of filthy lucre? Did Father Paisley teach you that?" "No. No, on the contrary. Father Paisley once even said something like what you... But not like that. Of course, not at all like that." Alyosha suddenly recollected himself. "A precious bit of information, however, despite your not at all like that. I ask you specifically, why should your Jesuit and Inquisitors have joined together only for material wicked lucre? Why can't there happen to be among them at least one sufferer who is tormented by great sadness and loves mankind? Look, suppose that one among all those who desired only material and filthy lucre, that one of them, at least, is like my old Inquisitor, who himself ate roots in the desert and raved, overcoming his flesh, in order to make himself free and perfect, but who still loved mankind all his life, and suddenly opened his eyes and saw that there is no great moral blessedness in achieving perfection of the will only to become convinced, at the same time, that millions of the rest of God's creatures have been set up only for mockery, that they will never be strong enough to manage their freedom, that from such pitiful rebels will never come giants to complete the tower, that it was not for such keys that the great idealist had his dream of harmony. Having understood all that, he returned and joined the intelligent people. Couldn't have this happened. With whom did he join? What intelligent people? Alyosha exclaimed, almost passionately. They're not so very intelligent, nor do they have any great mysteries and secrets, except maybe for godlessness. That's their whole secret. Your Inquisitor doesn't believe in God. That's his whole secret. What of it? At last you've understood. Yes, indeed. That alone is the whole secret. But it is not suffering. If not only for such a man as he, who has wasted his whole life in a great deed in the wilderness, and still has not been cured of his love for mankind. In his declining years he comes to the clear conviction that only the councils of the great and dead spirits could at least somehow organize the feeble rebels, the unfinished, trial creatures created in mockery, in a tolerable way. And so, convinced of that, he sees that one must follow the directives of the intelligent spirit, the dread spirit of death and destruction, and to that end, accept lies and deceit, and lead people, consciously now, to death and destruction, deceiving them, moreover, all along the way, so that they somehow do not notice where they are being led, so that at least on the way these pitiful, blind men consider themselves happy and deceive them. Notice, in the name of him in whose ideal the old man believed so passionately all his life. Is that not a misfortune? And if even one such man at least finds himself at the head of that whole army, lusting for power only for the sake of filthy lucre, is one such man, at least, not enough to make a tragedy? Moreover, one such man standing at its head would be enough to bring out finally the real ruling idea of the whole Roman cause, with all its armies and Jesuits, its highest idea of this cause. I tell you outright that I firmly believe that this one man has never been lacking among those standing at the height of the movement. Who knows? Perhaps such ones have been found among the Roman pontiffs. Who knows? Maybe this accursed old man, who loves mankind so stubbornly in his own way, exists even now, in the form of a great host of such old men, and by no means accidentally, but in concert, as a secret union, organized long ago for the purpose of keeping the mystery, of keeping it from unhappy and feeble mankind, from the aim of making them happy. It surely exists, and it should be so. I imagine that even the Masons have something like this mystery as their basis, and that Catholics hate the Masons so much because they see them as competitors, breaking up the unity of the idea, whereas there should be one flock and one shepherd. However, the way I'm defending my thoughts makes me seem like an author who did not stand up to your criticism. Enough of that. Maybe you're a Mason yourself, suddenly escaped from Alyosha. You don't believe in God, he added this time with great sorrow. Besides, it seems to him that his brother was looking at him mockingly. And how does your poem end? He asked suddenly, staring at the ground. Or was that the end? I was going to end it like this. When the Inquisitor fell silent, he waited some time for his prisoner to reply. His silence weighed on him. He had seen how the captive listened to him all the while, intently and calmly, looking him straight in the eye, apparently not wishing to contradict anything. The old man would have liked him to say something, even something bitter, terrible, but suddenly he approaches the old man in silence and gently kisses him on his bloodless 90-year-old lips. That is the whole answer. The old man shudders. Something stirs at the corners of his mouth. He walks to the door, opens it, and says to him, "Go, and do not come again. Do not come at all. Never, never." And he lets him out into the dark squares of the city. The prisoner goes away. And the old man? The kiss burned to his heart, but the old man holds on to his former idea. "And you with him?" Alyosha exclaimed ruefully. Ivan laughed. "But it's nonsense, Alyosha. It's just the muddled poem of a muddled student who never wrote 2 lines of verse. Why are you taking it so seriously? You don't think I'll go straight into the Jesuits now, to join the host of those who are correcting his deed? Good Lord, what do I care? As I told you, I want to drag on until I'm 30, and then smash the cup on the floor. In the sticky little leaves, in the precious graves, in the blue sky, in the woman you love, how will you live? What will you love them with? Alyosha exclaimed ruefully. Is it possible, with such hell in your heart and in your head? No. You're precisely going in order to join them. And if not, you'll kill yourself. You won't endure it. There is a force that will endure anything, Ivan said, this time with a cold smirk. What force? The Karamazov force. The force of the Karamazov baseness. To drown in depravity. To stifle your soul with corruption. Is that it? That, too, perhaps. Only until my 30th year. Maybe I'll escape it. And then? How would you escape it? By means of what? With your thoughts? It's impossible. Again, in Karamazov fashion. You mean everything is permitted? Everything is permitted? Is that right? Is it? Ivan frowned and suddenly turned somehow strangely pale. Ah, you caught that little remark yesterday, which offended Miusov so much, and that brother Dmitri so naively popped up and rephrased it. He grinned crookedly. Yes, perhaps everything is permitted, since the word has already been spoken. I do not renounce it, and Mitenka's version is not so bad. Alyosha was looking at him silently. I thought, brother, that when I left here I'd have you, at least in all the world. Ivan suddenly spoke with unexpected feeling. But now I see that in your heart, too, there is no room for me, my dear hermit. The formula, everything is permitted. I will not renounce. And what then? Will you renounce me for that? Will you? Alyosha stood up, went over to him in silence, and gently kissed him on the lips. Literary theft, Ivan cried, suddenly going into some kind of rapture. You stole that from my poem. Thank you, however. Get up, Alyosha, let's go. It's time we both did. They went out, but stopped on the porch of the tavern. So, Alyosha, Ivan spoke in a firm voice, if indeed I hold out for the little leaves, I shall love them only remembering you. It's enough for me that you are here somewhere, and I shall not stop wanting to live. Is that enough for you, if you wish? You can take it as a declaration of love, and now you go right, and I'll go left. And enough, you hear? Enough. I mean, even if I don't go away tomorrow, but it seems I certainly shall, and we somehow meet again, not another word to me on any of these subjects. An urgent request, and with regards to Brother Dmitri, too, I ask you particularly, do not ever mention him to me again. He suddenly added, irritably, it's all exhausted. It's all talked out, isn't it? And in return for that, I will also make you a promise. When I'm 30 and want to smash the cup on the floor then, wherever you may be, I will still come to talk things over with you once more. Even from America, I assure you. I will make a point of it. I will also be very interesting to have a look at you by then, to see what's become of you. Rather a solemn promise, you see, and indeed, perhaps we're saying goodbye for some 7 or 10 years. Well, go now to your Peter Seraphicus. He's dying, and if he dies without you, you may be angry with me for having kept you. Goodbye. Kiss me once more. So, and go. Ivan turned suddenly and went to his way without looking back. It was similar to the way his brother Dmitri had left Alyosha the day before, though the day before it was something quite different. The strange little observation flashed like an arrow through the sad mind of Alyosha, sad and sorrowful at that moment. He waited a little, looked after his brother, For some reason, he suddenly noticed that his brother Ivan somehow swayed as he walked, and that his right shoulder, seen from behind, appeared lower than his left. He had never noticed this before, but suddenly he too turned and almost ran to the monastery. It was already getting quite dark, and he felt almost frightened. Something new was growing in him, which he would have been unable to explain. The wind rose again, as it had yesterday, and the centuries-old pine trees rustled gloomily around him as he entered the Hermitage woods. He was almost running. Peter Seraphicus. He got that name from somewhere, but where? Flashed through Alyosha's mind. Ivan, poor Ivan, when shall I see you again? Lord, here's the Hermitage. Yes, yes, that's him. Peter Seraphicus. He will save me from him and forever. Several times later in his life, in great perplexity, he wondered how he could suddenly, after parting with his brother Ivan, so completely forget about his brother Dmitri, when he had resolved that morning, only a few hours earlier, that he must find him, and would not leave until he did, even if it meant not returning to the monastery that night.